Hey, and welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today I'm going to do an absolute beginner's video on learning to crochet from scratch using the baby toy box blanket as a sample to be able to make. Let me tell you a little bit more about this, and then we're going to be diving in nice and slowly today to be able to get you started in learning to crochet. So here's my baby's blanket. It is 32 inches square, and we're going to be starting from the center and working your way outward. Now you're looking at all the colors, and this is for beginners because when I was a beginner I would, and honestly for many years, I would have pits and knots in my stomach for changing color because I was so scared of doing it. So here, this yarn is called Bernat Blanket Stripes, and I'll show you the yarn ball in just a moment, but it's changing the yarn color on its own, and if you follow it around you can see that's actually happening, and as it gets bigger and bigger you'll notice that the transitions of color begin to change on its own, just like you see. So right in the very beginning when you're doing this concept, it'll all probably match up really quite nicely, and then as it gets bigger the colors will start settling where it's supposed to, and what you see is coming exactly out of the yarn ball. So you only have two balls to work with, so you really only have to worry about changing over the ball one time, and I'll show you how to do that, and it's a really nice simple way to go. So let me show you what this yarn looks like and then why I think it's a good one for beginners. So Bernat Blanket is a great starting yarn in order to learn how to crochet. So you're gonna see different examples of Bernat Blanket. You'll see this is a baby version, you'll see other versions, and this ball is the same size as this ball. Do not be confused by it because this is nice and compact into a cake. So the reason why they've done that is that they can see all the colors that you'll change. So when you're looking at the red here, this red is for a certain amount of time and then it will change. So when you're looking at these colors, it starts off as orange and then it goes to purple and then more of a burgundy reddish kind of color here, and then pink and then orange and etc. So it keeps on changing on its own. So the balls are the exact same size. If you wish to change colors, we have other tutorials available for this called From the Middle. In the more information of this video I will put that particular tutorial there. It's not necessarily for beginners, but it's pretty close if you would like to change out your yarn colors in order to be more consistent if you don't want to roll the dice and take a chance. So this is a really cool way to be able to do these kind of blankets just with no fuss with the Bernat blanket called Stripes. Okay, sometimes you will find this yarn in this format as well. Just look for the word stripes and this is exactly what you're getting yourself into. So let's take a closer look at the hook. This is an 8mm size L crochet hook, and this is a much bigger one than standard hooks, and there's all kinds of hook sizes that are available to you. The hook size is determined by the yarn. So when you're going to look at these kind of ideas, when you go to look at the ball band, it will tell you here this is an 8mm size L crochet hook as a recommendation. So all yarn balls have these labels on to tell you what size yarn is and hook is recommended. Now the designers can actually change your point of view as well on that. Sometimes it's nicer to change the hook even though it's not recommended by the yarn, but you can see that when you're looking at different ideas. So this is a Karen Big Cakes for example. When you have that one here is a 5mm size H crochet hook, which is slightly smaller than this hook that I was holding. So you can look at the ball labels like this to be able to determine. Now because you're a beginner, why not start off with thicker yarn, a bigger hook, and have a success story without a lot of time commitment. So this is a great starting way to learning to crochet, and because this yarn has no plies to it because it's like a chenille, then there's no plies that will split. So when you're moving your hook in and out, you don't have to worry about any kind of yarn ply splitting in order to make it harder for yourself. So that's why I recommend Bernat Blanket as your starting yarn, and if you want the colors, Bernat Blanket Stripes is the way to go. So as we begin today's tutorial, you're going to notice that the Bernat Blanket Stripes, if you bought this yarn, the yarn is not dyed all together. So it's not dyed and dipped in orange and then dipped in purple. What happens is that the yarn is cut and then the two ends are tacked together really quite permanently here. They're sewn together and permanently in position. Now because this is a fluffy yarn, this kind of idea gets stuck in the stitches really quite easily, and it's almost hard to see where those are gonna be, because once you start playing with this yarn they actually start really covering up each other. So all the yarn colors that you see here are tacked together in the yarn ball like you see here. So let's do the anatomy of a crochet hook. So what you have here is that you have the tip, you have the throat, okay, right here, and then you have the shaft, and then you have the handle. So my crochet hooks that I have, I just go into the craft store and get that they have the rubberized handles on them. They are a lot easier to crochet with than regular hooks without any of those. They make you crochet faster, and it's a lot more comfortable for your hands because it's designed to be held by your hands. So you have the anatomy there. So what we have is that you're going to notice that there's different kinds of tips that are available to you. Let me zoom in on that and show you the difference of a tip. So here's an example of two different types of tips of your crochet hook. So this is the one that I prefer. It's a molded look, and this one here is more of a saw cut. So you'll notice that there's metal ones out there where it looks like a saw has actually cut and made the throat itself. So it's sawed down and across. So I like the molded ones like so because when it's too pointy in this particular spot right in here, what happens is that it starts splitting the plies apart. So when you have more of a molded look that's more of a transitional, it's a lot easier to be able to work with the plies. So looking straight on, you can see that there's a difference of the shape. Okay, so you can see this is coming more narrow, and this one here is more of a saw cut. So when I turn it the other direction, you can see that there is a definite difference. So when you're looking at a crochet hook, you want to make sure that you're getting the right one that matches your particular style. When you go to hold a crochet hook, you got to look for a few things in your crochet hook. See how there's a flat edge on the front side? They're all not like that. So some of them actually are completely round, and those are the ones that I do not recommend. So you can see that it's completely flat here. So what happens when you're using this is that you're constantly rotating your hook like this. But when there's a flat edge, your thumb gets used to knowing where the flat edge is. So when I just rotate, I know that based on where my thumb is and the jagged edge, it's not jagged at all, but but I can tell there's a difference, is different from it being flat. Okay, so that's kind of like an orientation. So some people think it's just for those that crochet like this. No, it's for everybody, and it's one of those things. So when you see me crocheting in all my tutorials, you will see me rotate my hook more than I'm actually moving my hand, and in time, if I'm moving my wrist less, I'm gonna not end up with carpal tunnel as much as people that move the wrist a lot. Also, if you're going to crochet this way, which I never have recommended, nor do I know how to do it this way, is that because you're going like this a lot, you will end up with fatigue right in your wrist, also with long-term carpal tunnel. Now back in the olden days, they used to crochet like that because it was very dainty for women to crochet, and it looked dainty when they were crocheting, but it's actually not a way to hold it, because this is more natural for you, as if you're feeding yourself like a butter knife, or like if you're buttering toast. So you want to hold it in your hand that is most comfortable for you. So if you've learned this way, all the power to you, but if you're absolutely learning, go this way. So just rest it into your hand, have your thumb grip there, and also watch for the ones that have the raised up letters. So some people, some of these crochet hooks have raised up letters in the plastic itself. In time, that will irritate your thumb. So you want to make sure that you have a nice clear way of going, and maybe in this case, for example, the actual labeling is at the back here where it doesn't impede with your thumb at all. So when you go to crochet, you can be quite relaxed with your hook and just let it ride in your hand, and because of this ergonomics here, it's just kind of raising into my hand really quite beautifully. So because it's crochet and only one hook, it's not like it's knitting where if you drop a loop then you're screwed. This here is that you literally, if you drop the loop, you can just scoop it back up and pick it up. So crochet is very forgiving for that, so it's a nice way to go. So how do you hold the yarn when it's gonna be in your other hand? Let's cover that next. Okay, whether you're left or right, it doesn't matter. I want you to hold the yarn the same way. So I am right-handed myself, but I have tutorials that are left-handed, so you may be looking at the left-handed tutorial, and all it is, it's done in reverse. So what we have is that you have the yarn strand that is coming from the yarn ball. Try to always pull from the center of the yarn ball, never from the outside, because once you pull from the center, the tension to go to your yarn hand that is feeding it will be very consistent, and you'll have nice even stitches. Some people will argue that thing, you need to find out what is right for you. There is not a wrong or right answer when it comes to crochet. You need to find your own voice pretty much. So I want you to lay the hand that is going to be feeding the hook. So whatever, if you're right-handed, then it'll be in the one hand on your right, and if you're left-handed, the hook will then be on the other hand, like so. So what we're going to do is that I want you to use the hand that is not holding the hook to hold your yarn. So when people learn to crochet from the very beginning, let me just do a quick sample for you. I'm gonna show you this slower in the future, but some people, they don't really get on how to hold this yarn, so sometimes they find other ways of holding the yarn, and Daniel actually crochets this way. Okay, I don't crochet that way because it's much slower, but once you figure out your way of being able to do it, then that you're laughing. So I'm going to show you the way that I think you should learn, but if you have other ways of holding it, again, there is no wrong answer. To learn properly, here's what I'm gonna suggest that you do. Your hand here should close. Now some of us wear rings and stuff, and that might impede on it, so you'll see people will rotate the yarn around their fingers a few times. I'm gonna demonstrate how I think it should be done. So if you close your hand and you don't see any gaps in your hand, you know that you got a perfect crochet hand, because the tension of the yarn strand is controlled by this finger and by the gapping space of this finger here. So what I want you to do is lay out your hand just like you see here, and I'll take my time, and I want you to grab the other yarn strand. Notice that there's no knots, and I want you to feed it in between this finger. So just pick it up and make sure that the yarn ball is going down away from you. Okay, so this is the end, so pull it up and lay it up over top of your hand like so. So let me demonstrate that again. So just lay out your hand. You can open your pinky if you want to, and just pull it through the pinky and out, and then close your hand. If you can close your hand and just tug on it and it's pretty snug, you're good to go. If you close your hand and there's gapping spaces, some of us have arthritic fingers and stuff, then you may have to figure out other ways of holding your yarn. Okay, so let me just demonstrate that one more time. So hold out your hand and pull through. So now what I want you to do, and I'll show you the slip knot in a bit, is just pull a little bit of distance and rotate your hand up like this. Okay, so it was here, rotate up and rotate up. So this here is going to be the violin string. This is my own terminology right here. This is where you're going to be playing with your project. So this finger here, you'll notice that people always have it out like this. There's a reason for that, because by moving this out you create tension. Do you see that? Okay, so by holding this big, so if I let this finger go in the back, look, it just goes back to regular, no tension at all. So you want to just kind of lean up and go up like this. Okay, so let's move along and let's create a slip knot. Let's do that next. So the slip knot is the very starting of your crochet. It's the very first knot, everything. Remember, crochet is just all about knots. It's just how they're put together that makes the stitch. People have different ways of doing slip knots. If you know a different way, all the power to you. I'm gonna show you the way I learned from my mom. I want you, I don't like the word gun, but I'm gonna use the word gun, or I'm gonna use the word gossip finger. So I want you to form a gun of your hand. Okay, so let's just say it's a gossip finger. So Sally, whoever that is across the table, and I'm gossiping about her, so I'm pointing at her. What I want to do is that I want to grab the yarn, this is the end, and I want to wrap it around my gossip finger that I'm pointing to. I'm pointing at Sally, and I want to wrap it around twice. So just wrap like that. Let me show that to you again. So I'm gossiping about Sally across the table, and I'm pulling up and around twice. So it should show as two strands on my finger. One more time. So I'm gossiping about Sally, and I'm gonna pull it up and over. So now what I want to do is pull this string forward toward me. Okay, so pull the string forward and open up your gun handle and grab that string and this string and keep them together. Okay, so my gun is closed. I'm gonna open it and hold this string and this string. I'm now going to take this string and put it up on top of my finger more forward but not over, just up and over. It's like a game of leapfrog. So you're going to take this yarn strand and move it up and over to your finger here, and now you're going to pinch the other yarn that you just jumped over, pinch it and pull it up over top of your finger, and this is your starting slip knot right here. And so your hook just slides right into position. So you can just grab it and then just give it a little bit of a tug onto your hook. Let me demonstrate that again. So we're gossiping about Sally, we're wrapping it around, we're gonna open up our gun handle and put both strands in there. We're gonna play a game of leapfrog, so we're gonna leap this one up over top but not over. So just up and over, and then just grab the second one and go over top of your finger. And this here is your slip knot. That's your very starting, and you slide your hook in. One more time. So wrapping around, I'm gossiping about poor Sally across the table. So I'm going to play leapfrog, going up and over, and then up and over. And you want to insert your hook into that strand and just pull nicely on it. Now if you can't get this hook out, you pulled way too tight. So you need to have a nice, it's pulled there but you're not tying down a boat to a dock, so you want to make sure that it's snug but it's not crazy tight. So if you can't get your hook out like that, it's too tight. So just loosen it off a little bit, just reset it. If you're unsure, just pull it back out and just reset it into your hook like so. So let's move along to positioning on how to hold this yarn. So to hold this yarn, it's now attached to the hook. So that's awesome. So this hand is pretty much set. So we have to reset our other hand. So let this straggler fall out of the way. I call these stragglers. This is the loose end, and we're gonna just put that aside and we'll deal with that later. And I want you to grab your hand and lay it down flat, and then just take the hook with the yarn, pull it through your pinky and up and over, and rotate your hand. So we rotate it up. So okay, so up, through, and across. So up, through, and across, and rotate your hand up. So this finger here barely ever touches this yarn strand. Okay, the finger that you're going to do is the middle finger. Okay, so it's the middle finger you're going to use, and like a flamenco dancer of snap 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 with their little tambourines or whatever those are called, those things, she is going to be, well, she or me is going to be using that finger and the thumb to hold on to the knot, the slip knot. So whenever we go to adjust, this thumb and this finger will always be grabbing onto your project. This finger stays up. So when I crochet in fast, my finger is not like pointed up like this. I'm kind of just relaxed. See how I'm moving this finger and it changes the tension of the violin string? This is what controls the tension of your project. So when you rotate your hand back the other way, what the tension is here, and it's also within this finger. So if I'm all of a sudden loose, if I raise this finger up like this, I have tension. If I put it back down, you can see it's loose. So raising your finger up and down creates the tension so that you can grab onto this equally. So let's learn how to do a chain. So let's learn how to do a chain. So the chaining is usually always the start of a project, and I'm going to give you some basics and then we are going to work on the toy box baby blanket. So now that you have it, you have to rotate the hook and see how there is the shaft is here. So let's determine how to get this out of the knot, because this does not come out of the knot easily unless you know the positioning. So let's zoom in and show you that. So when you're going to crochet, you're going to notice that the shaft is what is going to be the factor of not getting your stitch work out. So when you go to look at the actual knot itself, you'll notice that it's an upside down teardrop. Do you see that? It's like an upside down raindrop. So you can insert your hook any direction into that, but getting it out is the problem. So the only way to get your stitch work out is to rotate the hook completely upside down, and it completely matches where it is here at the knot area. Okay, so you see it doesn't come out any other way except for if it's upside down and it slides out. So when we go to crochet, when we go to, let me just show you a chain. So I'm going to wrap and I'm gonna turn my hook upside down and I'm going to pull through. If I do not do that, so let's do another example. So if I wrap and I don't turn it upside down, see, I can't get it through that knot, so I have to rotate it towards me and then through. So I want you to just start chaining. So wrap and through. So you're going to scoop the yarn and pull through. So I'm going to zoom out now. So as you're scooping the yarn to pull through, you're actually pulling the yarn through your hands. So let me just show it from this point of view. So I'm scooping and you see that it's just sliding across the top of my hand like so as I'm doing it. So the yarn tension is being controlled by the space here and here. So you scoop away from you, okay, and then pull through. This is called yarning over technically. So YOH, yarn over, is the technical abbreviation. So you scoop under, rotate and through. Scoop under, rotate and through, and keep doing that until you're satisfied. And as you get more experience, this process does not take very long. So as you're doing this, notice the thumb and the flamenco dancing finger. So I'm just gonna pull back a little bit. I want you to see what I'm doing with my hand, with my pinching fingers, if you haven't got it by now. So when you go to pinch, you're going to pinch underneath the knot. So you scoop through and do this. Let this go and grab it and the next knot that you just did. So grab, so pull through, let it go, and then grab the next one. Scoop, pull through, let go, grab the next one. So as you're experienced, you can probably do this, but as you're new, you need the stabilization of your hand in order to do it because you're not familiar with it now. So you let it go each time, grab the new knot, pull through. And you see when I let it go, it doesn't go anywhere. So people are really scared to let things go, that it's gonna fall apart. It doesn't. See? It's just hanging there. So that is what you call a chain. So what I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna start you on this project. So the project, now that you know how to do a chain and how to hold the yarn, and you can backtrack if you need to, is that we're going to start working on the toy box now. So let's begin to do that next. Okay, so let's begin to work on the toy box right from the very beginning, and so we're gonna wrap around, we're gonna gossip about Sally across the table, we're gonna hold everything. We're gonna do a game of leapfrog and up and over to do your first slip knot and insert your hook in. So what I want you to do is that position your hand and pinch and chain 4. So 1, let it go, 2, let it go, 3, let it go, and 4. So now we're gonna start our first revolution around to create the center of the toy box. So to start the very center, we're going to count back to the 4th chain. Just as a tip, it's the very first one, right where I'm pinching. But how do you know that? You can count it. So you can see this is a stitch, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so you see it, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to rotate the hook and scoop some yarn before you insert into where I'm pinching the 4th chain from the hook. So you're gonna rotate the hook and drag it with you and insert into the 4th chain. So go right into the chain and scoop the yarn. So just scoop it. So remember, it's up underneath and around, and pull it upside down through. Okay, now you have 3 loops on your hook. I want you to scoop and pull through to only 2, scoop it and only pull through 2, and you're done. That is called a double crochet. This chain that you just skipped over is also considered a double crochet in the rules of crochet. Let me demonstrate that to you again. So after you change your 4, you count back to the 4th one. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, right where I'm pinching. So you're going to scoop the yarn and take it with you and put it into put the hook into the 4th chain from the hook. You're going to scoop the yarn and pull it through, and then you're going to scoop the yarn and pull through 2, and scoop the yarn and pull through 2 and you're done. That's considered a double crochet. So now we're gonna continue around the center of this. So this here right where I put that 4th one is now the center spot of your afghan. To do the next double crochet, the double crochets are always the same. Scoop the yarn first, or it's called yarning over. Go into the same stitch where you just put that last one and going in. So yarning over, pull the yarn through, and then yarning over, pulling through 2, and then yarning over, pulling through 2. So this is one side of the 4 sides of your blanket. So to move on to the next side, what we have to do is we have to chain 1 only. So scoop, yarning over, pull through 1, and now we're gonna do 3 more double crochets into the center spot right where I'm pinching right here. So let's double crochet a total of 3 times. See what I'm doing with the straggler? This is the starting. Just wrap it as if it's part of that stitch and it will get stuck underneath so you don't have to worry about it later. So let's yarning over and going into the same stitch, yarning over, pulling through, okay, yarning over, pulling through 2, and yarning over, pulling through 2. That's another double crochet done. So we need a total of 3 of those for that side. So 1's already done. So scoop the yarn, so yarning over into the same stitch, yarning over, pulling through, yarning over, pull through 2, and yarning over, pulling through 2. Let's do it again. Yarning over, going into the center, it's the 4th one, pull through, pull through 2 and 2. So this now, see this is one side, this is another side of your blanket. So let's move on to the next side. Chain 1 first, that allows that project to turn, and then into the same one again, 3 more double crochets. So yarning over into the center, yarning over, pulling through, yarning over, pulling through 2 and 2. So I'm now starting to speed up a little bit. So yarning over and in, pull through 2 and 2, and do it one more time. So yarning over into the center, pull through 2 and 2. And now you can see that I've got 3 sides. So 1, 2 and 3. I got a 4th side, so chain 1 to turn first, and then going into the center again for 3 more times. So yarning over into the center, pulling through, pull through 2 and 2, and then yarning over center, pull through 2 and 2, and then one more time, yarning over the center, pull through 2 and 2, and now we're not quite done yet. So you have one side, 2 sides, so you can see these gapping spaces provide that turn. So in order to finish, you have to just chain 1, and we need to slip stitch it to the top of this chain 3 that we started with. So to slip stitch, all you're just going to do is not go into a gap space right where my finger's coming through. Go right into a chain work itself. So right into a chain. So there should be yarn from that same stitch on this side of the hook and that side of the hook, and then yarning over, pulling it through and through, and now you just physically joined that. So now you have a complete granny square. This is a granny square, so you have a complete square in your hands. Now because you have been going up over top of that one that was a straggler, all you can just do, and if you're confident, you can just trim that now, and that's gone forever. So it'll be buried in the middle of your project without you even seeing it in the future. So let's move on to the next row. So back on the project, what you just did was created this center just like you see here. So in the next row, what we are going to do is that we're going to create these gapping spaces that you see here, and then the row after that we fill it in with double crochets. So it creates the look that you see. So this is called a modern granny. This is one of Jeannie's concepts here. That's her kind of a stitchwork concept name. It's called # or #MG. And so we're now going to create the spaces in the next round, and then the round after that we fill it in, and then we create the spaces and then fill it in. as it gets bigger, there gets more and more distance in the corner. So the corners get further and further away from each other, but the stitch work is still the same. So let's move on and showing you how to do the next round. So to do the next round, we're going to start up and we need to pay attention to the corners. So the chain 1 spaces are your corners. So you see when you pull it apart, they actually kind of open up on you. So you can see very easily where those are. So you can see it's not here because it's sitting beside, because this is more of an open space. So to begin this round, what we're going to do is that we're going to chain up 1 and we're gonna put a single crochet into the same space that you just went into. And all you're just going to do at this point is that you are going to just single crochet. So go right into this gapping space in the same one, go right into the space. So I never wrapped it first, just go right into the space and grab the yarn, pull it through, and it's only on 2 loops of the hook. This is a single crochet, and then pull through 2 and you're done. So now because there's 3 double crochets here, 1, 2 and 3, we have to chain a total of 3 that rests right up over top of it. So let's chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and then come into the next space, which happens to be a corner. So the corners are always going to be the same way when it comes to this round. So we're going to single crochet first. Let me show you how to do that again. I should have told you what it was. So to single crochet, you don't wrap the hook, you're just coming in, pull through, and then pull through 2. Now because this is a corner, you have to chain 3 again. So 1, 2 and 3, and come into the same corner space and single crochet. So don't wrap the hook first, just go right into the space, yarning over, pulling it through. You have 2 loops on the hook, pull through 2. So in the spaces here, when you're on a side, you'll have that it jumps over the 3, but on the corners you have to go in the corner the first time, chain 3, and then back into the corner again in order to form the corner. So because you're now up over top of the double crochets, you're gonna chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and then go into the next space. Okay, this is a corner. So just single crochet, so go right in, pull through 2, and you're done. And because this is a corner, you're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet back into the same corner. Okay, so let's keep on moving. So chain up 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then come to the next corner space, single crochet, and then because it's a corner, you're gonna chain 3 and then come back into the same space. Okay, so this is where we started over here. We're coming back there now. So we're gonna chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then all you're just going to do is in the same space where you started, you're going to single crochet, and you started off with the single crochet, so you have to chain 3 to match it. So 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch it immediately into the single crochet that you started with. So to do that, you just insert into the stitch, okay, pull through and through. That's called a slip stitch. So now when you look at this, if we're gonna zoom out for a second, is that you can see here, okay, you have all your gapping spaces to play with in the next round. So every other round looks like this. The only difference is that it gets bigger and bigger. So let's move on to your next round. So to move on to the next round, you've done your slip stitching and now you're going to start playing in this chain 3 space first. So in order to get there, because you're in the single crochet, you have to slip stitch over to the chain 3 space. So just insert the hook into this chain 3 space. So just go right into the space itself, no stitch work, and just go right into the space and yarning over and pulling through and through. And what that did is that it just moved your stitch over 1 to be in there. So in the rules of crochet, the chaining 3 that you start with is usually a double crochet. So 1, 2 and 3. and that is considered one double crochet like it was down here. So we're going to put in 2 more double crochets into this chain space. So just wrap the hook, so we're gonna yarning over and going right into the same space, and then grab the yarn and pull through 2 and 2. Okay, do it again. So wrap the yarn, so yarning over, going into the space, scoop the yarn and pull it through. So you got 3 loops on there, pull through 2 and 2. So each one of these spaces in between the corners will each have 3 double crochets, so that chaining 3 counted as one of them, and then you did 2 more. So you just happen to be running into your corner next. So the corner is gonna be 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. So let's begin. So right into this next space, wrap the yarn first and going right into the same space. Okay, so right into the corner space, pull through 2 and 2. So we have to do that 2 more times. So yarning over, going into the corner space, pull through 2 and 2. Yarning over, going in, pull through 2 and 2. So now that 3 are in, we chain 1 and we go into that same space again and put in 3 more double crochets. It's like it was very back in the beginning. So let's put 3 more in there. So just wrapping it, same space, going in, pull through 2 and 2. Do it again. And then wrap and in, pull through 2 and 2. So that's how your corner is. So your corner is 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochet, and now you're gonna move along the flat space again of your square. So the next chain 3 space is gonna have 3 double crochets. So wrap and in, and just count those out loud to yourself. So this is 1, wrap and going in the next one, the same one. This is 2 and going in. This is 3. And the corner happens to be the next one. So do you remember what to do? It's gonna be 3 double crochet to start. I'm gonna speed up a little bit. After the 3 are in, you're going to chain 1 and then put 3 more double crochets into that same one. Just like that. So now you're in the flat space, so just immediately in the next chain 3 space put in 3 more double crochets. And then your corner happens to be next. So in the corner you just immediately jump into the space, so 3 double crochets. So 3 is your magic number for this whole thing if you think about it. Then chain 1 because you're gonna turn, and then in the same space you're gonna put 3 more double crochets because it is your corner. Okay, so you can see where you've started and where you stop. So we come into the next space and 3 more double crochets. Okay, and here is your last space, which happens to be the final corner. So 3 double crochets. Okay, chain 1 and 3 double crochets. And you're all the way around, but you're not quite done. So what you have to do is that you have to join this to the beginning chain 3 that you started with. So just go right into a chain. Don't go into a gap space. Go into the actual chain itself and pull the yarn through, and that joins it together just like you see. So now this is completely done of this particular round, and I'm going to demonstrate the next round again, which is the same as the 2 rounds before when we did all that single crochet and chain 3s. So let's begin the next round. So when you're using the transitional yarns with the Bernat Blanket Stripes, it'll change color on its own. So we have another tutorial, as I mentioned, with changing colors with this particular design. It's called From the Middle, and I put a link in the more information in this video. So to start the next round, you're going to chain 1 to start, and then right in the gapping spaces that you have. So everything is in groups of 3. So it just naturally separates itself because you played on both sides of these gapping spaces that you see. So we're going to go into the gapping space between this group of 3 and the last group of 3. So it's right above it. So go right into a space, single crochet. Now we're gonna jump over top of these 3 double crochets. So we're gonna chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then just go into the space in between this group of 3 and this group of 3. So right here, and single crochet. And then you have to jump over these 3 double crochets. So chain 3, and then come into a corner space. So the corner is always the same from what you remember, right? So it's a single crochet first, and then chaining a 3, 1, 2, 3, and then single crochet again into the same corner space. So now that that corner is complete, you just want to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then just jump into another space. So you see this group of 3 and this group of 3, go right into the space in between. Single crochet, and then chain 3 because you've got to go up over top of these double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and then come into the next space, and then 1, 2, 3, and then the corner is your next. So single crochet first, chain 3, and single crochet again. And you see how I just naturally turned as I went. So just chain 3, and then keep on just going into the spaces with the single. Chain 3, going into the space, chain 3, and then come into the corner. And remember it's a corner, so chain 3 and come back into the same corner to finish it. Okay, and then chain 3 and coming into the same corner, or sorry, coming into the space, chain 3, going into the next space, chain 3. Okay, this is the final corner. I can see when I'm coming back around where it's already been done. So into the corner, single crochet, chain 3, single crochet in, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to join it to the beginning single crochet that I had started with. So pull it through as a slip stitch. So now you've just gone all the way around. So let's quickly review. So now this is your square and it's now getting bigger and bigger. So the next row we're gonna do is exactly what you already learned with these 3 double crochets that sit in these chain 3 spaces. So the only difference between now to the finish is that it's 2 rows that you keep repeating and the square gets bigger and bigger. So let's begin to do your next round. So slip stitch into the chain 3 space to start and pull through and through, and that moved it over, and then chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then just double crochet 2 more times into that same space. So that gives you your total count of 3 double crochets into that space because that chain 3 counted as 1. And then just pull it and you can see the next space here. So 3 double crochets there, and then go to the next space, which happens to be a corner. So the corner is 3 double crochet, okay, and then chain 1 and then 3 double crochet. That's how you do your corners. So what I want you to do is that I want you to do a complete round of this, and then when I come back I'm going to show you how to change the yarn ball color, because you're going to have to do it at least once if you're using the Bernat Blanket Stripes, being able to change the yarn strands over, because you will run out of yarn in one ball and have to switch. And then I'm also gonna show you how the edging was done on the toy box as well. That's called the surface overlay. So let me get this round done. Just do what you already know, and then I'll see you at the beginning of this round. So eventually you're going to run out of string. So even if you're doing the Bernat Blanket Stripes, eventually one ball is gonna finish and you're gonna end up with another one. If you're using that kind of yarn, you can just start it immediately where you're finishing off. If you were doing solid colors, so for example you wanted to maintain orange, chances are you already have orange available to you, and that you can do the same concept regardless if it's the same color or not. For demonstration reasons I'm going to change it to purple, so I just want to show you that. So if it was Bernat Blanket Stripes, it would have been put together like so, and you would have transitioned, except for if you're jumping from one ball to another. So I just have a finished group of 3. So what you want to do is that you want to back pedal out and just pull out the last loop. So let me zoom in and show you. So pull back the yarn, and so that 2 loops are exposed. There you go. So 2 are in there. So this is the last 2 before you finished off the stitch, and leave this down on top of the project. And now what I want you to do is I want you to grab the other yarn and create that slip knot that I showed you in the very beginning. So we were gossiping about Sally. We're gonna wrap our hook, or wrap our finger twice and create a slip knot. Okay, and you are going to insert that slip knot onto the hook and pull it onto the hook, and use this yarn then to finish that stitch. The reason for it is that this loop here is the roof of the next stitch. So when you go to do this, this whole next group of 3 will be the right color. It'll be the same yarn strand. So what you want to do is that you want to group the 2 stragglers. Okay, these are leading to the end of the ball. This is leading to the ball, and we want to group those so that they're down underneath. So just group them and then pinch them down. So this next chain 3 space, you are going to wrap the hook and go right into the space, and the other 2 yarn strands, okay, are laying on top of it, and you're gonna go directly around everything, and you're going to double crochet. So that those 2 yarn strands are getting stuck inside the stitch. So you want to do your group of 3. So that's 3 double crochets, and you're gonna get stuck there. And now with this particular stitch, that's as far as you want to go. You want to leave these stragglers now out of the way. So now all you're just going to do is that you're going to trim out those 2 yarn strands now. Okay, so you've gone up over top of them, and you're gonna trim those down. And you notice that I never went right to the actual wick of it, because once everything starts pulling apart, if it's still hanging out at the end of your project, you can trim it down further, but don't go all the way to the wick right off the bat. So now you just continue now with the new yarn of going around your project. So what I want to do is that I'm going to demonstrate to you how to do the surface overlay at the end of the trim, and you are going to go until there's almost 1 revolution left for doing surface overlay of it. And what I did is that I used 1 complete color of the Bernat Blanket Stripes in order to go all the way around. And of course if you have Bernat Blanket as well, you can just use another yarn ball if you had a solid, if you wanted to do a trim work with that. So I'm just continuing to rotate around like I normally would, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 2 more rounds off camera, and then I'm gonna show you how to do the surface overlay for when you're ready for that. So let me get you to that moment in time. So let me just do this off camera. So now coming to the very end. So let's just say that I get to my size that I would really like for my afghan, so my blanket. So you're gonna get your final 3 done, and then you're just going to slip stitch into the beginning chain 3 like you had been, and then you stop. But what are you gonna do with this end here? So what you have to just do is just leave enough of the strand so that you can throw it into a darning needle in order to finish it off properly. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to show you how to sew that in. So what we need is a tapestry needle, just like you see here. Mine has a slight bend on it. It's just easier. It's also called an upholstery needle if you're ever wondering about that. So right where I left you, we did a slip stitch, and then all I'm just going to do is pull the yarn through the final loop and keep on pulling until it's all finished out. So I wanted to leave enough of a yarn strand so I can bury this in at the end. So all I'm just gonna do is throw this through the tapestry needle. So the eye of the needle has to be big enough to handle this yarn, and then I want you to I want you to look at this project, and we came from this direction, so we went this way. So I want to just go up underneath the stitch work and drag this yarn through the stitch work up underneath the stitches for about 1 inch or 2. So you notice that the needle is not on the outside, it's just on the inside, and you're just gonna pull it through. So pull it through, and when you go to pull it, you wanna be snug about it, but you don't wanna make the edge look like that it's buckling. So now in a different path, go in the other direction. So you can't go exactly the way that you had. So see how it's coming up under this? So when I go to start, I'm gonna be up over that one so that it gets stuck underneath. So now I'm gonna go the other direction. So for a third time, or for a second time, and again, don't pull it too crazily tight, and then just go in the third direction one more time, because it can never stretch in 3 different ways at one time, and this will be permanently into position. So you can do this with all of the loose ends that you may have if you had loose ends throughout your project, and then you can safely just trim it right down to the project. And you will notice a little bit of a difference on the outside here, just in the way it looks, but it's pretty much perfect. So what I want to do is that I want to show you the surface overlay that is done as just an accent to this. So on the outside of my toy box, I had a surface overlay. So this is not part of the construction that holds things together. This is completely aesthetic. It's completely the look. So on the one side it all looks like chain work, and on the other side it looks like it's been sewn into position. Okay, so both sides do not look even. So what we want to do is that I want to create this look on the side of the post, and it looks really cool, and I saved one complete color from the transition, so it was the same color all the way around in order to bring it to balance. So even if it changed color on this round here, it was still the same underneath. So what I wanted to do is show you how to do this. So if you're new to crochet, what happens when you're going to work on this, I'm just showing you a quick example, is that whenever you go to work on a project, your yarn is always on the front of the project. So it's always like, no matter what we do, we're always on the front side. So to do surface overlay, the yarn must be on the underside like it is on a sewing machine in order to create that look. So let me show you what to do. So to start the surface overlay, do not create a slip knot first, but leave about a foot of yarn, or about 12 inches, and you'll use that to sew it in afterwards. So what you're going to do is that you're going to just put it behind. Okay, so here is your strand, and just grab a loop. So just form a loop with your hands, don't form an actual knot. So what we want to do is that we want to start on a corner. So we're going to work on the tops of these stitches, so as if it was like a regular stitch going in. So you see the 2 strands, this is a stitch, and what we want to do is that we want to jump between this stitch and this stitch on the side of the post. So to begin to do that, all I'm just going to do is that I'm going to go into the stitch itself through the one side, and then just grab that loop and pull through. Okay, and what I want to do is that I want to leave this yarn so it's in behind the project. So you can just hold it in a way that it's actually coming from the outside of the project. So instead of it coming from the front side, it's coming from the back. Immediately jump to the next stitch, and then yarning over, pulling it through, and then pull it through that first loop, and then jump to your next stitch. So through, and pull through and through. So next stitch, through and through. Now because this is slip stitching, you want to make sure that you've got nice good tension there, and all you're just working is on the side of these stitches you were just doing a slip stitch. So this is called the slip stitch. It's called, and this whole concept is called surface overlay. So pulling it through. So on the back it's creating the sewing machine look, and all you're just gonna do is do this all the way around. So let me get you to the next corner and show you what to do in the corner. So in the corner all you're just going to do is that you're going to go into the space. So just go right into a space itself. There's no single crochet or double crochet sitting there, so just go into the space, turn your project, and then immediately go into the next stitch available to you. Okay, so that's all it was. So you just went into a space. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go all the way around with this, and I'll see you at the beginning of this round to show you how to fasten this off. Okay, so when you get all the way back around you're going to end up where you started, and you're gonna finish off the one right before it. Okay, so what we want to do is that this last one is where we're going to finish off. So we're not going to go up over top of this original one that we started with. So here's what we're going to do. Here's the secret. So you're going to trim this yarn about 8 inches or so, and what you want to do is that you want to pull this yarn strand through. Now in order to make the stitch work almost look identical to perfect, then what you want to do is that you want to throw this into a darning needle, and you want to finish the stitch using a darning needle instead of a hook. So let's just put that yarn strand onto a darning needle. So right where we finish, see there's a gapping space between the two. So what we're going to do is that we're going to put the hook in behind these two strands. These are the original strands that we started with, and you're gonna put them in behind like so. In order to keep the look consistent, this has to go through the middle of the existing stitch and take it out right through the back of the project. Because if you look at it, both of the yarn strands when they come out, they're from a center, so they're coming out into a center. So now we're just gonna turn this over and do the securing of the back. So this is the back side of your project. So you want to take great care of getting rid of this. So you're just gonna bury this yarn in behind underneath some stitch work a total of 3 times. If the hook comes out to the, or the needle comes out to the front, you've gone too deep. So just dragging it through the stitch work. So 1, and then come in the other direction through a different path, but stay on this back side for 2, and then back in the other direction for 3. So if you remember, we never started off with the knot for this other strand that is sitting there. That's the original. So what we're going to do is put that onto a darning needle as well, and we're gonna go back and forth a total of 3 times, again underneath the stitch work. So my fingers are kind of in behind, so I know, and this is not a sharp needle, it's a tapestry one, so I'm just gonna drag it through. So 1, and then 2. So on the back side it doesn't look all the way perfect, but it's the back side, right? So 2 and 3. So I'm keeping it close to where the other color should be, just to make it look consistent. And then once you have it in, you can just trim it. So now when you go to flip this over, is that it looks pretty much close to being perfect on the front side of this project. So you just have to look back and see if there's any loose ends. This is the one that we kind of buried in. So things will relax, so you can just trim those down, but because you were feeding them in and out of the project, is that you can get these pretty much buried in at any point. So this is how you do this. This is for absolute beginners. This is what it looks like in behind. You can see it was like really quite awesome, and this is the Toy Box baby blanket, and I hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial, and this was for absolute beginners. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.